Hello everyone, I'm Heather and this is Heather Travels. I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. In today's video, I want to talk to you about our experience dining in Vail, Colorado. Before I get started, I'd like to encourage you, if you are new to this channel or if you haven't yet subscribed, please take a minute to click on the red subscribe button just below the video. Okay, we visited Vail, Colorado from August 20th, which was my birthday. We got there in the afternoon and we stayed 3 nights at the Tivoli Lodge. And if you haven't yet seen my Tivoli Lodge room tour, I will link it right up here. Over the course of the time that we were in Vail, we had sit-down meals at 4 different restaurants. First of all, Vail was a lovely town. It's very walkable. It's obviously somehow like master planned. It must have been like built brand new. I think they started building it like in the 60s or 70s and was obviously planned out very carefully. It's beautiful, and if I could live in a town like that, that would be wonderful. I really liked how walkable it was, and obviously the scenery is amazing. Since we were there in the summer, many of the restaurants had outdoor dining. They had whole walls or big doors that they could open up, and the dining just kind of spilled out onto the sidewalks and everything. This was especially helpful given the fact that we were there during the 2020 pandemic, because you really don't want to be eating inside. I got the impression that the dining like that in the summer is like that all the time, even when there's not a pandemic. I am kind of curious how it differs in the winter, because obviously Vail is a ski destination and there's probably even more people there in the winter. And I don't know how they're going to handle dining, particularly this coming winter. I don't know if they somehow have like heat lamps that they can bring and still dine outside, or if they're going to have to limit capacity inside or what. I'm not really sure. If you've been to Vail in the winter, would you leave me a comment down below and tell me what is dining like in Vail in the wintertime? I'm just kind of curious. The one thing I will say about Vail though is it's very different than I imagined. I really liked it. It was very pretty, but I had an image in my mind of what I thought it was going to be like, and it wasn't like that at all. One of the things that struck me when we went to Colorado this time that for some reason I didn't really remember is that all of the towns are in the low parts of the mountains. So when you're driving along on the highway, like on I-70 through Colorado from east to west, you'll go up huge peaks and then you'll go down a little ways, and the towns will be in those lower parts and the mountains go up around them. And I guess they're probably all kind of in like river or creek valleys, which I suppose makes sense. It would be hard to build things up on the peaks of mountains, but I don't know why I had it in my head that Vail was up on some peak somewhere, but from driving past it in the past or something, I don't know. I just didn't remember. And I had a second cousin who got married in Vail, and we were not able to go to the wedding, and I think the reason I couldn't go was because I just had a baby, but I'm not sure about that. But anyway, it was better than I expected, but also very different than I was expecting. So I hope that some of our videos from Vail are helping you to capture the essence of what it was like. The one thing that really struck me about Vail was how expensive it is, especially when it came to food. Dining there was quite expensive, and I had been doing a really great job with my budget for this trip until we got to Vail. And then just the few days in Vail really blew my budget with food. So we kind of had to tighten our belt the last several days of the trip to keep our spending in check and keep to our budget. So we did discover, unfortunately, late in our time in Vail, that there definitely seemed to be a difference between the east side of Vail, which I believe is the older, more original part, and the western side of Vail, which seemed to be more newer built stuff, relatively, and more modern and more family friendly, a little bit less expensive. The part that we were in, I would describe as quieter and more elegant and a little bit more upscale and more expensive. And then as you went further west in the towns, and it's like these little villages with little individual village names, As you went further west, it got a little bit newer, a little bit more family friendly, a little bit livelier, and a little bit less expensive. So if that kind of helps you in which part of Vail you want to look at to stay, I loved where we stayed. And it was different experience for me and for the kids than a lot of the places we usually stay. I wouldn't have changed what we did, I don't think, but it's just important to know that. And it would have been nice to know that there might have been less expensive places to eat if we had been like taking the bus and stuff like that, which we did do at the end. So, okay, Thursday night when we got there, we had gone hiking in Red Rocks Park in the morning. I'll link that up here. And then we had gone and ridden the Breckenridge Connect gondola on the way to Vail, got to the hotel in the afternoon, and then we went to look for, we started walking around looking for a place to dinner, and it was my birthday. We found a place fairly quickly within close walking distance of our hotel. It was an Italian restaurant. It was called Vendetta's. We got there quite early. It was like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and there wasn't very many people there at all. And we actually did take a table just inside the line of where the doors opened up, but so it was just inside, but everything was all open because it was, all these big doors were open. Service was very attentive, really good server. The food came quite quickly, and it was very good food. It was very good Italian food, and we liked it very much. And I will put pictures in here of what we had. I had these stuffed shells, which were very good, and I think I ate every bit of it. Megan got a pizza, and I'm trying to remember if Ben ended up eating a slice of her pizza. She ended up taking it in a box, taking what was left because she could not eat the whole thing. It was too big. She took it in a box and took it back to and put it in our fridge in our hotel room, but she never did eat the rest of it. And then Ben got just plain spaghetti. He just loves plain spaghetti, and he puts tons of cheese on it. We were all very happy with our food. The one thing we were disappointed about is they did have a few desserts, but I didn't care for they only had like 3 choices, and I didn't care for what any of them were. I was a little bit disappointed that I did not get any birthday cake on my birthday or any kind of dessert at all. I'll come back to that. The total price we paid for this meal at Vendetta's, including the tip, was $75.95. So not horrible. I mean, definitely more than I would spend for the 3 of us to eat at, say, Olive Garden. But, pricey. And I should say, I am a generous tipper. I typically give 20% unless the service is poor. And then I'll give 15. But I don't ever skimp on tipping in the United States because servers, and in some places you got to be careful because, like in Minnesota, for example, they get paid more than servers do in Wisconsin. So I have to remember that. And I also have to be careful I don't double tip like I've done at Disney in the past, where they already, like at character meals, where they already put the gratuity on there and I don't see it and then I tip again. So they get a double gratuity. Whoops. Don't do that. Okay, so $75.95. We did go walking around a little bit. We found a candy shop, but we didn't end up buying anything in there. But then we found a little chocolate shop. It was Rocky Mountain Chocolate Company, which I think is a chain actually. And Megan bought us some chocolate treats. And I got a little birthday cake truffle, which I'll put a picture in here. And it was good. So that was my birthday dessert. But I didn't get a candle or anything. Oh well. The next day was the day that we rode the gondola up the mountain. And that video is coming, and went and did a whole bunch of stuff on the mountain. And for lunch that day, we had kind of a picnic grab-and-go lunch from this place that was up there at the top of the mountain. And you'll see that in that video that's coming up. Then for dinner that night, we were back down in Vail, and we went to a place called Up the Creek. And it was a really nice setting. We sat outside. There was indoor dining, but like nobody was eating inside. We sat outside. The one problem we did have was the sun was setting, and we asked them to help us that they could not tilt our umbrella at the table to block the sun. So we were all kind of like bunched together on one side of the table trying to keep the sun out of our eyes. So that was a little uncomfortable. But the setting was really pretty. It was right down by the creek. There were a whole bunch of like kids playing and stuff in the grass right there. I'm not sure why that was where they were playing. But Megan and I got the same thing to eat. We got this gnocchi. It was delicious. I absolutely loved it. I think this was probably my favorite meal for food of these 4. Megan didn't care for it as much, and I think I probably ate some of hers when she didn't eat it all. And it was like sun-dried tomato and pine nuts. I can't remember what all was in there, but I loved it. It's making me hungry just thinking about it. And then Ben, again, got just plain pasta with lots of cheese. We kind of had Italian sort of 2 nights in a row. We didn't intend to eat Italian. I mean, they had a wider variety of food at Up the Creek. It was not a specifically Italian restaurant. We just happened to get kind of Italian sort of food. This place was the most expensive. This was a Friday night. I don't know if that made any difference, but it was $110.18. We only had water to drink, and we had those 3 dishes. Pasta's not expensive. So I did feel a little bit ripped off at this place because, I mean, the food was good, but especially given the fact that we did get drinks. We did get drinks. Megan and I each got some kind of fruity spritzer drink or something. I can't remember what they were, but we got the same one. So we did get drinks, but I don't think if Ben got a drink, I don't remember. But I just felt like this was really expensive for what we had. I mean, I think even half that would have been expensive for what we had. So $110.18. So there you go. Okay. The next day, so this would have been Saturday, I think. I'm not sure what days what the days are. We went to lunch at a place we had walked past because it was very close to our hotel. It was literally like right around the corner from our hotel, called Big Bear Bistro. And the reason we wanted to go there was because they had crepes. And we love crepe, and we hadn't had it in a long time. And so we were like, yay, let's go there and get crepe. Okay, this restaurant ended up not impressing me very much. You actually had to step down to go into it, like go down some steps. It was kind of like built down into the ground. And the inside, I would not have wanted to eat inside. It was very, very small and very cramped. And it was very hot in there. I don't know how the people working there could stand it. It was extremely hot and uncomfortable. And of course, we had our masks on. And you had to stand in line to order. And it was really tight, and you had other people around you very close, and it made me pretty uncomfortable. And then, like, there was a cooler, and you had to grab your drinks out of the cooler, and you had to, like, get around people, and it was really tricky. And then if you ordered water to drink, which we did, they didn't explain that there was, like, a water cooler, and you had to get the water yourself. So we had actually gone outside, and were sitting at our table for a while, and wondering why they hadn't brought our water. And so I finally had to get up and go back inside and ask, where's our water? And they're like, oh, you get it yourself over there. But they hadn't told us that. And they were just like these little cups. And then we actually ended up spilling one of our waters, and it got all over everything. So that was no fun. And the service was not great. I was not real impressed. I mean, they basically just like took our order inside and then brought us our food, and that was it. They never came and helped us when our water spilled. They weren't even paying attention at all. There were just not a pretty small number of tables outside, and a little bit closer together than I was really comfortable with, but there weren't too many. So, and there were people at all of them. Okay, the crepes were good, but they were ridiculously huge. I can't even imagine how big the crepe maker must have been to be able to make crepes this big. They were the hugest crepes I've ever seen. We definitely ordered too much food. Okay, so I ordered a ham and cheese crepe and like sugar crepe, like just thinking it'd be my dessert. And I was expecting them to be like standard crepe size. Like any crepe stand you've ever been to, they're kind of the same size. Look at these pictures. These things were massive. So we literally could have gotten just 2 crepes, one savory crepe and one dessert crepe, and split them, and that would have been plenty for the 3 of us. But I got 2 crepes. I got a savory crepe and a sweet crepe. Could not even come close to finishing them. I probably ate a third of each of them. Megan got just a strawberry crepe, so she was the smart one. She only got that, and I'm sure she didn't finish that. And we enjoyed them. They were good. We just couldn't eat them all. And then Ben got like scrambled eggs and toast and a sugar crepe. I can't remember. It was like powdered sugar and butter, I think is all they were. So he had too much food too. So overall, we all had too much food. The food was good, but the service was not great, and we had too much food. Total price for this meal was $70.90. Now remember, this was lunch. Okay, this was lunch and it was almost $71. And I probably did tip a little lower on this one, I'm not sure. Although I may not have, because I didn't know what the service was like when I paid. It was like you went inside, you ordered and you paid, and you had to put your tip on right there. And then you got your food. So you couldn't really tip based on the service. We were kind of disappointed with that dining experience because we had really been looking forward to the crepes, and because they were so big, we didn't really enjoy them that much, and we didn't really enjoy the setting of that restaurant. We kind of wanted to get out of there quick. Okay, then the last place we went was that night for dinner, and this was an unexpected find. We took the bus all the way, because by this time we had discovered the bus, which I'll talk about in the video where we go up to the mountain. And we took the bus all the way over to the far west side of Vail, which is actually called Lion's Head Village. And we did a little shopping. We walked around. There was actually some kind of weekend special, like with tents set up and craftsmen and stuff selling things, some kind of arts festival or something. And we walked around. We got some souvenirs in a shop and sweatshirts, and I got a magnet and an ornament. And then we found this place called Garfinkel's. It was a very big place. It was right by the second gondola that we came down the mountain from when we went up to the mountain the day before. It was much, much more realistic in terms of prices. The service was very, very good. The host who seated us, who kind of seemed like the manager or the owner or something, he was very happy when I actually said we'd like to sit inside, because everybody was asking to sit outside, and it was totally packed out on this deck where all the outside seating was. And he actually said thank you when we asked to sit inside. And the reason I chose inside was for two reasons. One, there was nobody inside. Everybody was outside, and so we were basically by ourselves inside and not around any people at all. And secondly, it was air conditioned, and we were really, really hot. It was very hot when we were in Colorado. And so we were happy as clams to be in this nice little corner table all by ourselves with nobody around us. Again, excellent, outstanding service. Our waiter was phenomenal. He kept bringing us whole pitchers of water, and we just guzzled the water. We were terribly dehydrated, and we just went through water, and I think we got soda too, but we were just happy as clams because he kept bringing us whole things of water. And then the food was kind of like pub food, bar and grill type food. I got fish and chips. Ben got these pretzels, and I can't remember if that's the only thing he got. I think it is. He got just this thing of giant pretzels, and Megan just got mozzarella sticks. And if I remember right, I think they might have shared those a little bit, like Megan gave Ben some mozzarella sticks and Ben gave Megan some pretzel. So it was fine. So a very carb heavy meal, but we were just so happy. We really enjoyed that meal. It was much more relaxed. The service was really great. It was a pleasant atmosphere because we were basically like the only ones inside there. I mean, there were maybe like one other party like way across the room. And it was air conditioned, and we got plenty to drink, which we had really been having trouble with while we were in Vail, was having access to beverages, which I'll talk about in the next video. And this meal was the least expensive of the three. It was a very reasonable, with the tip, $49.19. So that is much closer to what I would expect to pay for a sit-down meal for three people. I mean, I really don't think it should be that much more than that, ever. So I was very pleased when I got the check for that one. I should mention we had brought along, for breakfast, we had brought along a whole bunch of bars, like granola bars, breakfast bars. And so whenever we were staying somewhere where it didn't have free breakfast, like, Hamptons have free breakfast and they have like the grab and go right now because of the pandemic. But when we were at Tivoli Lodge, and again at the next place we stayed after this, the breakfast was not provided. And so we had those with us to eat in the morning for when breakfast was not provided for us by the place we were staying. So overall, we had kind of a mixed bag of experiences with dining in Vail. There's a lot more restaurants there than I listed. I did notice quite a few you know, fancier like steakhouse supper club type restaurants. I also noticed a couple of Mexican restaurants, which I probably would have been happy to go to, but I don't know if the kids would have liked that much. I mean, Andrew would have loved it. Mexican's like his favorite thing, but I don't remember seeing any Asian restaurants. And I guess the other thing was, except for Garfinkel's, it was again a little bit challenging to find places that were really family friendly. We really didn't see many kids at all eating in the sit-down restaurants. I saw kids in Vail, lots of little kids, but I don't know where they were eating. Oh, I should have to also add, right outside Garfinkel's was a Haagen-Dazs. And so we got dessert that night. We stopped at Haagen-Dazs and we all got ice cream from Haagen-Dazs. So that was a nice treat. So that was our experience dining in Vail. I hope that this is helpful to you if you're planning a visit to Vail sometime in the future. They do have these maps which list a lot of the restaurants on them. Although I will say the maps were not the most user-friendly maps. They were a little bit difficult to understand. There also are like magazine-type guidebook things in Vail that list all the restaurants and stuff. So you might actually have better luck planning in advance where you want to go eat rather than just walking around. It can be a little tricky if you're just walking around trying to find something. I will say, though, that most of the restaurants did have their menus posted somewhere outside so that you could look at the menu and you could look at the prices before you decided to eat there. I do also want to say I noticed that many of the places did require reservations, or at least were taking reservations. We never did make a reservation because we got places quite early and they weren't busy at all. For example, when we got to Vendetta's that first night, we got there at like 5:30, like I said, and we didn't need a reservation. But I noticed that pretty much everybody that came after us, when they approached the host stand, said, you know, Jones party of 4 or whatever. Almost everybody that came after us had a reservation. So making reservations, and I don't know if that's an all the time thing in Vail or if that's just because of the pandemic, but it definitely seemed to be a good idea to make a reservation at most of the sit-down restaurants in Vail. I hope that that was helpful to you. Thank you again so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Safe travels.